She didn't lose interest in you overnight. She lost respect for you in moments you didn't even notice. Listen carefully, because this is where most men get it completely wrong. You think attraction fades because of age, because of competition, because younger women are chasing something you can't provide anymore. That belief is comforting and completely false. What actually pushes her away isn't your age, it's the silent behaviors that reveal how you see yourself. I'm speaking to you not just as a psychologist, but as a woman who has watched this pattern unfold again and again. A man can walk into a room with decades of experience, stability, and wisdom, and still become invisible to a younger woman within minutes. Not because he lacks value, but because he unknowingly broadcasts insecurity in ways that feel suffocating. The first habit that quietly kills attraction is over-explaining your worth. You think you're impressing her when you talk about your achievements, your past, your sacrifices. You believe you're giving her reasons to choose you. But what she actually feels is pressure. When a man keeps proving himself without being asked, it doesn't feel like confidence. It feels like a sales pitch. And attraction cannot grow where there's pressure to be convinced. A younger woman doesn't want to feel like she's being handed a resume. She wants to feel something real. She wants to discover you, not be overwhelmed by you. When you speak too much about what you've done, you unintentionally tell her something deeper, that you don't trust your presence to be enough, and that creates distance. The second habit is subtle, but even more damaging. It's when you seek validation from her energy. You watch her reactions too closely. You adjust yourself based on her tone. You feel high when she's warm and low when she pulls back. And without realizing it, you hand over your emotional stability to someone who is still figuring herself out. This is where attraction begins to collapse. A younger woman may enjoy your attention, your maturity, your guidance, but the moment she senses that your emotional state depends on her, something shifts inside her. She stops feeling drawn to you and starts feeling responsible for you. And responsibility is the fastest way to kill desire. She doesn't want to manage your emotions. She wants to experience you. And here's the uncomfortable truth most men don't want to hear. The more you try to secure her, the less secure you appear. The third habit is living in your past instead of your presence. You reference how things used to be. You compare her generation to yours. You subtly position yourself as someone who knows better, who has seen more, who understands life at a deeper level. And while that may be true, the way it comes across isn't attractive. It feels like judgment. She doesn't want to feel like she's being evaluated. She wants to feel accepted. When you anchor yourself too heavily in your past, you disconnect from the moment you're sharing with her. You stop being a man she can experience now, and you become a man she has to listen to. And that shift is enough to change how she feels about you. Attraction lives in the present moment. Not in your history, not in your lessons, not in your past victories. Right now, you might be thinking, but I'm just being myself. And that's exactly the point. These habits don't come from pretending. They come from patterns you've carried for years, patterns that once helped you survive, succeed, and build your life. But in the context of attraction, they work against you. Because attraction isn't built on logic, it's built on emotional experience. And when a younger woman feels like she's being convinced, managed, or subtly corrected, her instinct isn't to move closer, it's to pull away. Not dramatically, not loudly, quietly, and by the time you notice it, she's already gone. She doesn't pull away because she's confused. She pulls away because something in you made her feel too certain, too soon. There's a moment that happens early on, and most men completely miss it. It's not when she stops replying fast. It's not when she cancels plans. It's much earlier than that. It's the moment she realizes you're already emotionally invested before she's even decided how she feels. This is the fourth habit that quietly destroys attraction, moving too fast emotionally while pretending to be in control. You tell yourself you're just being honest, open, direct. You think expressing strong interest will separate you from younger men who play games. But what she feels isn't clarity, it's acceleration. And when something moves too fast without emotional grounding, it doesn't feel safe. It feels unstable. A younger woman wants to feel curiosity. She wants to lean in, not be pulled in. When you start planning too far ahead, talking about future possibilities, or subtly acting like she's already yours, you remove the tension that creates attraction. You collapse the space where her feelings are supposed to grow naturally. And instead of building connection, you create pressure she didn't ask for. So she steps back. Not because she doesn't like you, but because she feels like she's losing control of the pace. And control matters more to her than you think. Now here's the fifth habit, and it's one of the most misunderstood: trying too hard to appear younger. You adjust your language. You copy trends. You force humor that doesn't feel natural to you. You try to blend into her world instead of inviting her into yours. And while your intention is to connect, the effect is the opposite. It feels inauthentic. A younger woman is incredibly sensitive to emotional congruence. She may not articulate it, but she can feel when something is off. When a man disconnects from his natural identity just to fit into her frame, it doesn't make him more attractive. It makes him less grounded. And grounding is what she's actually drawn to. She doesn't want a version of you that's trying to match her age. She wants a version of you that is completely at ease with who he is. That calm certainty, that quiet self-acceptance, that's what creates intrigue. That's what feels rare. When you abandon that to chase relatability, you lose the very thing that made you stand out. Now let's talk about the sixth habit, and this one cuts deeper than most men realize. Subtle control disguised as care. You give advice she didn't ask for. You guide her decisions. You position yourself as someone who knows what's best. And in your mind, you're helping. You're protecting. You're using your experience to add value. But what she feels is restriction. A younger woman is still shaping her identity. She's exploring, making mistakes, learning in real time. When a man steps in too early and starts directing that process, it doesn't feel supportive. It feels limiting. She doesn't want to be managed. She wants to be free. And the moment she senses that being around you requires her to shrink, adjust, or follow your lead in areas she hasn't invited you into, her attraction begins to fade. Not because she doesn't respect your experience, but because she resents the loss of her autonomy. This is where many men become confused. Because on the surface, everything they're doing seems right. They're being attentive, involved, intentional. But attraction doesn't respond to intention. It responds to how she feels in your presence. Does she feel free or confined? Does she feel curious or certain? Does she feel like she's discovering you or being directed by you? These questions matter more than anything you say. And here's the part that stings a little. The more you try to position yourself as the better option, the more you highlight the gap between you and her world. And instead of bridging that gap, you widen it. Because attraction isn't about proving superiority. It's about creating an emotional space where she wants to stay. And if that space feels controlled, rushed, or inauthentic, she won't fight to keep it. She'll simply let it go. She won't tell you what turned her off. She'll just become a version of herself that no longer feels anything for you. And that's what makes this so dangerous. Because by the time you notice the shift, it's no longer a problem you can fix. It's a feeling that's already gone. There's a pattern I've seen over and over again, and it's the seventh habit that quietly erases attraction without a single argument or dramatic ending. Emotional heaviness disguised as depth. You believe you're creating connection by opening up quickly, by sharing your struggles, your past wounds, your disappointments. You think you're being real, and in many ways you are. But timing is everything. When emotional depth shows up too early, it doesn't feel like intimacy. It feels like weight. A younger woman isn't rejecting your honesty. She's reacting to the emotional load she didn't expect to carry. When conversations become intense before there's a strong foundation, her instinct isn't to lean in. It's to protect her energy. Because now, being around you doesn't feel light. It feels like something she has to prepare for. An attraction needs space to breathe. This is where many men unintentionally shift from being someone she's excited about to someone she has to manage emotionally. And the moment that shift happens, desire begins to disappear. Not because you're weak, not because you're broken, but because you gave too much of your internal world before she had a reason to invest in it. Now here's something even deeper that most men never confront. It's not just what you say or do. It's the emotional tone you carry underneath everything. If there's even a subtle layer of fear of losing her, fear of not being enough, fear of being replaced, she will feel it. Not consciously, not logically, but emotionally. And that feeling changes how she sees you. Because attraction thrives in emotional stability. When a man is grounded, when his energy feels steady and self-contained, it creates a sense of calm that draws her in. But when there's underlying tension, even if it's hidden behind confidence, it creates unease, and unease pushes her away. You might think you're hiding it well. You might believe you're saying the right things, doing the right things, showing up the right way. But what she responds to isn't the surface. It's the energy beneath it. That's why two men can say the exact same words and get completely different reactions. One feels effortless. The other feels forced. One creates curiosity. The other creates distance. And the difference isn't technique. It's internal alignment. Now let's go even further, because this is where most men either grow or stay stuck in the same cycle. You cannot create genuine attraction while trying to control the outcome. The moment your focus shifts from experiencing her to keeping her, something changes in your behavior. You become more cautious, more calculated, more reactive, and without realizing it, you stop being present. Instead of engaging with who she is, you start filtering everything through a question. Is this working? Ourself here though are now and therapy end. And that question alone is enough to disrupt everything. Because attraction doesn't grow in evaluation. It grows in presence. When you're fully there, grounded, aware, unattached to the result, you create a space that feels real. A space where she can relax, explore, and feel something without pressure. But when you're internally chasing an outcome, that space disappears. And so does the feeling. Here's the truth that most men avoid because it requires something deeper than strategy. You don't lose her because of one mistake. You lose her because of a pattern of emotional signals that slowly change how she experiences you. And once that experience shifts, words won't bring it back. Because attraction isn't built on what you explain. It's built on what she feels when she's with you. And if what she feels becomes heavy, pressured, or unstable, she won't argue with you about it. She'll just stop choosing you. By the time you feel her slipping away, she's already made peace with losing you. And that's the part no one prepares you for. There's no final warning, no clear explanation. The faulty you're in, just a quiet shift in energy that you can't quite fix, no matter how much you try to correct it. So let me give you the truth most men never hear. Attraction isn't something you chase. It's something you allow. And everything you've heard so far points to one core mistake, trying to force a feeling that can only grow in freedom. When you stop trying to impress, something changes. When you stop trying to secure her, something relaxes. When you stop trying to control how she sees you, she finally gets the space to actually see you. This is where real power begins, not in saying more, not in doing more, but in removing everything that was never necessary in the first place. And all such of thalpi are some like say, because the man she feels drawn to isn't the one performing at his best. It's the one who is completely at ease without performing at all. Think about that for a moment. No over-explaining. No emotional chasing. No silent need for validation, just presence. And presence is rare. Most men are either stuck in the past or anxious about the future. Very few are fully grounded in the moment they're in. But that's exactly where attraction lives, in the now, in the unscripted, in the space where nothing is being forced. When you become that man, something subtle but powerful happens. She leans in, not because you pulled her, but because she feels safe to move closer on her own. That's the shift. Now, let's be clear about something. This isn't about becoming cold, distant, or emotionally unavailable. That's another trap. Because detachment without presence feels empty. And emptiness doesn't create attraction either. What creates attraction is calm certainty, a quiet confidence that doesn't need to prove itself, an emotional stability that doesn't fluctuate based on her behavior, a sense of self that remains intact, whether she's there or not. When you have that, everything changes. You stop reacting to every small shift in her mood. You stop interpreting every message as a signal of success or failure. You stop trying to manage the connection and start experiencing it. And ironically, that's when the connection becomes stronger. Because now she's not dealing with a man who needs something from her. She's experiencing a man who adds something to her. There's a difference. One feels like pressure. The other feels like possibility. And people are always drawn to possibility. So if you take anything from this, let it be this. Attraction doesn't fade because you're older. It fades because your behavior communicates something that your words don't. And the moment those signals change, everything else follows. Now, I want to leave you with something personal, not advice, not a rule, a question. If you stripped away the need to impress her, who would you actually be in that moment? Would you still speak the same way? Would you still act the same way? Or would something about you become calmer, more grounded, more real? Because that version of you, the one without pressure, without performance, that's the version she was always meant to feel. And most men never let her meet him. So here's your equation. And I want you to actually answer this, not just think about it. Your attraction, Rog's presence minus neediness. Simple, but not easy. In the comments, I want you to be honest with yourself. Which side of that equation have you been feeding more, your presence or your neediness? If this made you see something you couldn't unsee, then don't keep it to yourself. Like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who's been trying to fix the wrong problem all along. Because sometimes the smallest shift in awareness changes everything.